Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a simple formula, but very powerful. So we're going to look at the formula and see how it gets applied. First of all, let's look at what the formula is then. You should be familiar with this, I'm sure. It's hard work in ethics, standard tech, doing the things that one and not new things untried as yet, and applying the formula of the condition one is in. Okay, I'm pretty sure you've all read that, you all know that, but we're going to just break it down a little bit and see what he's actually saying there. So let's take it apart and see how we would apply it to any situation. So before I go on, I want to stress that it doesn't matter what condition your business is in currently, you can still use this formula immediately. It's immediately applicable regardless of any other condition that you might be in. You can just get going on this formula, and if it's done thoroughly and properly and fully, you will eventually arrive in affluence. So we're going to start with number one, point number one. Point number one is hard work. And now what do we mean by that? Do we mean work that is difficult, arduous, soul-sapping? Nope, it doesn't mean any of that. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, it means a great deal of effort and endurance. But that's not a definition that we're going to use because that's essentially a false datum. Okay, the average person spends 90,000 hours working in their lifetime. So if you're an average person and you guys are all above average, you're going to be spending at least 90,000 hours of your lifetime working. That's roughly a third of your life. If that was all effort and endurance, it wouldn't be much fun. And for some people, unfortunately, that is the case. And that's probably why the Cambridge Dictionary used the words effort in the definition. But it should be further defined, in my opinion, to get it away from this idea of being difficult and arduous. Work without purpose is all effort and endurance, perhaps. And to me, that's why the admin scale is so important, because when you're aligned in what you're doing, then work becomes much more pleasurable. If you're working on your purpose line, then work is enjoyable. I personally love my work. I enjoy getting up in the morning and going to work. I reluctantly leave at the end of the day because I enjoy my work so much. I enjoy it because it's on my purpose line. I don't find it difficult at all to be like that. So we're going to word clear this because it's important to get it right. And right doesn't mean me telling you what it is. Right means getting what LRH says, okay? So hard, what does it mean in this context? So for this, I looked up in the Oxford Dictionary at definition number 3, and it says the following. It says, hard, putting a lot of energy into an activity. So if we just take hard as putting a lot of energy into an activity, okay, that's hard. And it gives an example. He's been a hard worker all his life, i.e. he's put a lot of energy into his activities. If you then look at the word work in the Oxford Dictionary, it says a task or tasks to be undertaken. Now, if we put these two things together, it would mean that hard work actually means putting a lot of energy into a task or tasks to be undertaken. All right, so it's putting your energy into a task that you've decided to do, and that's hard work. Now, if we do that enough, we're doing hard work, and there we go. It's a pretty good definition for what we were talking about at step 1 of the Affluence Attainment formula. You have to be willing to put a lot of energy into a task or tasks. And I'm going to give you some LRH quotes now to go along with that, okay? And here's the first one. LRH says, it's nothing to work 15, 16 hours a day, hard work. And in what Dianetics can do, he says, it's a remarkable thing that we don't have to work very hard as long as we work in the direction of an increased freedom. If we want to work hard, what is hard work? It's pushing against restrictions and barriers, isn't it? And it's lifting heavy masses. If you ask an individual to look toward freedom, you would find an awful lot of work getting done. But this individual would pull a very bad one on you. He would insist it was play. So when you're working for the right thing and you're going for the right purpose and goal, it seems like play to you. It doesn't seem like hard work. In Problems of Work, chapter 3, LRH says life evolves into a better condition by means of hard work, not by threats. So, you improve that condition by hard work. In The Professional Scientist, he says, there is nothing, and that's underlined, there is nothing that would be totally easy to do that would be worth doing. There's always some hard work alongside of any worthwhile projects. So I'll give you that one again because I personally like that one. There is nothing that would be totally easy to do that would be worth doing. There's always some hard work alongside of any worthwhile projects. Okay, and finally in HCPL 5 October 58, he says, the key to getting a job done is hard work yourself and exact good work by your people. Okay, so that's quite a bit of LRH on the subject of hard work. You can see that by doing hard work, you're involving yourself in activity that you're enjoying, and you're putting in your energy into a task, and therefore it's not soul destroying. You're on a purpose line, you're getting something done. It's an interesting to look at it in terms of energy and time. You know, is 100% energy for 10 minutes better than 10% energy for an hour, if you look at it that way? Giving 100% of yourself to a task gets it done well and gets it done quickly. Okay, so two things are obvious there. One is that you work toward freedoms and work as a game, but a game also consists of freedoms, barriers, and purposes. And two, yes, there will be barriers and problems to overcome and solve, but holding the purpose up there, you can achieve what you set out to achieve. So that's step number one of the affluence formula. That's just hard work, okay? But it's hard work in the correct context there of attainment of purpose. Okay, so that's step number one. I'll give you a couple of comparisons so you can get the idea here. You all know who Jeff Bezos is, I'm sure.
One more request, Craig. Can you go a little bit slowly? Little bit slowly, yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Please
Am I going to? I'm obviously going too fast.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to give you a comparison. And this is Jeff Bezos of Amazon. He worked 100-hour weeks and worked 7 days a week for years until Amazon joined the $1 trillion club. Elon Musk, the Tesla man, he reportedly works 90 hours a week. And Jeff Immelt, the former CEO of General Electric, he worked 7 days a week, doing 100 hours a week for 24 years. Okay. So hard work is very common in people who are very successful. And let's compare that to LRH. LRH says this: as heavily as my schedule is put together, it's almost impossible for me to turn around twice. I have to economize and only turn around once. Okay, so he had a schedule like nobody else on planet Earth. And that's from the TAPE Organization and Ethics. So, you know,
can you give it again a bit with the example? What last you said about the LRH quote?
The LRH quote, yeah, the LRH quote is very cute. It says, as heavily as my schedule is put together, it's almost impossible for me to turn around twice. I have to economize and only turn around once.
Okay.
In other words, he has to get it right the first time. So when he does a cycle of action, he gets it right. He finishes the cycle of action. He does the next one. Okay.
Okay.
Very important. So that's hard work. I know I've gone on about it a bit, but that's hard work. I'm not saying you should all work super long hours, by the way, but it does give you an idea of the dedication to work that many impressive people have. Okay, that's hard work, and it's point number one. So now we're going to go to point number two. Point number two in affluence attainment is in ethics. So what do we mean by in ethics? In is an expression meaning a state or a condition. If you're in something, it's a state or a condition. Ethics, LRH says this. Now, this is an LRH definition, so here I'll go slowly. Ethics is a personal thing. By definition, the word means the study of the general nature of morals and the specific moral choices to be made by the individual in his relationship with others. Okay, I'll read it again. Ethics is a personal thing. By definition, the word means the study of the general nature of morals and the specific moral choices to be made by the individual in his relationship with others. Okay, so I tell you, one of the things I'm going to do is at the end of this today, I'm going to take all these quotes, and I'm going to email them to you, Sebastian. You can like make sure everybody gets them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll do it.
Okay. So in HCOB 15 November 72, he puts it this way. He says, when one is ethical or has his ethics in, it is by his own determination and is done by himself. Okay. And in the PDC, Philadelphia Doctorate Tapes, number 37, he says, that which is enforced by oneself, his belief in his own honor and good reason and optimum solution along the 8 dynamics. So that's being in ethics. That which is enforced by oneself, his belief in his own honor and good reason and optimum solution along the 8 dynamics. So if you have all that, then that's what ethics is. And if you're in ethics, you're striving to make sure that you're following your own honor code, your own good reason, and the optimum solution along the dynamics. So let's say, for example, you've got a deadline to meet for your work. Let's say you're an artist, for example, and you've got a painting to do for the next day, and you know that you're going to have to work damn hard to pull that off. Or say you're a web designer and you're a day late on finishing a project. But in either case, you decide to drop it and go watch a movie. Would your personal ethics be in or out at that point? Exactly. I like the shake of the head, Shalendra. They would be out. Okay. We know with the basic admin tech that we've learned that we have to complete cycles of action and that we have to honor deadlines and deliver products that are of good quality, and doing these things is being in ethics. Skimping on them or doing something else and not pushing oneself when one ought to, well, that would be out ethics. All right. So now we've got hard work and we've got in ethics. These are the first 2 steps. Is that nice and very clear, I hope? Yeah?
Yes, very much.
Okay, good. And if we've got these 2 things in, we're going to hit the 3rd thing. And affluence attainment demands that you keep your own ethics in. It's what you decide is ethical, by the way, and it's quite obvious from these LRH definitions that I gave you. Ethics is very much a personal thing. Okay, you feel it. You kind of know when your personal ethics goes out. So don't ignore that indicator and make sure you keep your ethics in. And then we get to number 3. Number 3 is standard tech. Now, this is an interesting one. You may think that this applies only to auditors and supervisors. And that's quite common. I've come across this many times, but it doesn't. It applies to you. And the key element of the affluence attainment formula is standard tech, because whatever you do for a living, you will have worked out a standard way of doing it. Okay. If you're a painter and decorator, you've got a standard way of painting a door. I don't know. I'm not a painter and decorator, but I guess you strip it, sand it, use filler as necessary to smooth out the lumps or the dents. You sand the filler once you've done it, I suppose. Then you prime the door, then you give it an undercoat, then you paint it. If I got that wrong and I offended anybody, I'm sorry. Maybe you always keep your paint strokes in one direction and you never go across them. It's up to you. It's your standard tech for you as a painter and decorator. And jobs all have standard ways of getting done. And by doing the right things, you end up with a product. Okay? So if you do it standardly, you always end up with the same thing. It's when you violate standard tech, or you try to quickie it, or you try to shortcut it, or you do something else, that it goes wrong. If you're laying a floor, for example, there's a very standard procedure of how you lay a floor. I'm not going to go on about it all afternoon or all evening. There are standard ways of doing things. You need to make sure you keep them in, because standard tech is very important. And if you're going for affluence and you're working hard, you're completing cycles of action, you're keeping your ethics in, and you're doing standard tech, in other words, you're applying what you know to what you're doing, then you'll be getting somewhere. Okay. So then we're going to get to the next point. And the next point is an interesting one. Well, they're all interesting, but this one's good. Doing the things that one, not new things untried as yet. Okay. We're doing the things that one, not new things untried as yet. So you've got tasks to perform. You're keeping your ethics in and you're getting them done. And you're applying the standard tech that you have devised to get these things done. So now you're going to introduce something that is new. No, you're not going to do that. That would be the wrong thing to do. You're not going to introduce something new and untried as yet, because that's not building on known successful actions. At that point, you're gambling and hoping, and that is not the way to attain affluence. Hiya.
Hello.
You You know that if you put out 20,000 leaflets, you'll get 100 reaches back. And from those 100 reaches, say you'll close 10 jobs. And those 10 jobs will net you 20,000 rupees or something. You don't then decide on a new leaflet or scrap the leaflets because you heard that Google ads are so much better. Okay? This is not for this formula. That's not to say that you'll never do it, but it's not in the affluence attainment formula. In this formula, you keep doing what you know works. It's like the old adage, don't fix it if it ain't broken. Okay, you do what you know works. If you're going to do something else, it's a pilot, but you don't stop doing what you are doing. You don't do Google ads instead of the leaflets. Okay, you keep doing what you know works. Don't mess with successful actions. Get them in and keep them in, and don't run off chasing something else based on an idea that hasn't been put to the test. Okay, I've seen this done too many times. It just, countless companies go broke doing this. They suddenly start doing something, and then they decide on something else that's not their usual line of business, and bam, they fall flat. It's very, 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 very common. So this step is a crucial step. It's crucially that you do the things that won and not new things untried as yet. And that's what he means there, okay? And then that will take us to the last step of the formula, applying the formula of the condition one is in. So now, this is a little bit of a trick, okay? Because so far I've been saying that you can apply this no matter what formula, no matter what condition you're in. But the last step is to apply the formula of the condition one is in. So obviously, you can't just ignore the condition you are in. That's fatal. You have to do that formula and follow it fully while keeping in the 4 previous steps. But let's say, for example, you're in non-existence. You would apply that formula and you would work hard to find comm lines and find out what was needed and wanted. And you would keep your ethics in and run things standardly without trying something new so that you could supply what was needed and wanted. And you would get the non-existence formula fully done. All of that would be part of the formula. So whatever condition you're in, then you apply the condition of that formula. However, it's all part of the affluence attainment formula. To know what condition you're in requires keeping stats, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's very important. But I have many people say to me, I say to them, do you keep stats? Oh, not really, not really. Do you apply conditions? Oh, yes, of course we apply conditions. And I say, well, how do you apply conditions if you don't keep stats? It's very important that you have stats. They're not understood well enough, in my opinion. But you really have to have stats. You have to have them graphed properly. And yeah, it's quite a weak point. So I hope you all have them. Because once you know your products and you're producing them, then you need to keep stats. It's the next thing up on the admin scale apart from anything else. If they are correctly kept, properly scaled and graphed, they will tell you what condition to apply. And that condition applied with hard work and ethics, standard tech, and doing the things that won and not new things untried as yet will take you into affluence regardless of where you are currently. And that's exactly what I want for anybody that's here today, is I want you to be in affluence. If you already are in affluence, by the way, that's fantastic. And I'm not giving any of this data to invalidate that because it's brilliant. But if you're not in affluence, say you're normal or you're an emergency, then take the affluence attainment formula, have a good look at it, look at what I've said today. I'll send you the quotes from LRH, apply them, and you will find yourself, if you do exactly what he's saying, you'll find yourself in affluence, which is a much higher condition. Now, once you're in affluence, that's a whole other story. And that story is a story that I think we should take up in the next webinar, because once you get into affluence, the handling of the condition of affluence is a vital ability. You need to know how to handle affluence. And it's very common that it's not handled properly. And as LRH says, things go splat on the street when you don't handle it right. So at the next webinar, I really want to go over affluence with you and go over exactly how, number one, you get into affluence, and then what you do once you're there. How do you strengthen an affluence? How do you keep that affluence going? How do you make sure it doesn't break? And I think that's a very important data to know. With that, I think you'll be able to, with the affluence attainment formula, you'll be able to get into affluence. And then with a good understanding of the affluence formula, you'll be able to stay there. And the one after that is moving up to power. great condition to be in.
Yeah.
All right. So I know that we don't have that long today. I don't know how long I've been.
Yeah. So we have around five minutes or so. If people have
5
questions.
minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
I have
So,
a question.
Craig, I have a question.
Oh, good. Go for
Yeah.
it.
So I would just, as a curiosity, because the sequence says the condition comes at the last.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't know the condition, if you do all the apply everything, don't you think it will be a bit illogical or going reverse direction? Should we not spot the condition first? I'm not doubting what LRH has written. I'm just, having the query like why it is in the last, not at the first.
Okay. Well, realize that affluence attainment is itself not a condition.
Right.
Okay. It's a statement of steps to take to get into affluence. It is not itself a condition. There is no condition called affluence attainment.
Okay. Yes.
It's a formula. It's the affluence attainment formula. So it's a formula that you apply that includes the condition you are in.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Got the idea. And as you said about very clearly that the standard tech and the rudiments, everything's possible for auditor, not on the real life. But if the person is getting an area where he is not aware about the standard tech, how he can determine and find out the ways to spot the standard tech so he does not become the victim of the wrong tech or the wrong ways?
Well, I'm not sure I fully understood that question, but I'm going to give you an answer anyway. Almost any job you do or any job you're the receipt of has got some technology with it. And it's, even if you buy a new hairdryer, it's got an instruction list. It says do 1, do 2, do 3, do 4. Now, people sometimes throw that out with the box and just can't understand why their hairdryer doesn't work properly.
Right.
But you have to follow the instructions. Everything has a standard tech, and if you apply and forward that standard tech, you'll get somewhere. Anyway, listen, I think that we're almost running out of time, so I want to give you my email address. It's cowiseuk@wise.org. If you have more questions, email me today. I'll answer you today. Otherwise, I'm going to quickly send all these quotes to Subhash, and he'll get them to you. Okay?
I think Anita has a question. Anita pipped in.
See if you can get it in.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Anita?
Yeah, well, I had two questions actually, but I'll put in one. So if I'm starting a pilot, because you said this applies to your usual stuff, but let's say I'm becoming a poet, so that's a pilot for me. Now, would this condition apply to the pilot as well?
Yeah. It's not, let me really stress again, it isn't a condition.
No, I understand this formula, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
because you said somewhere that, if you try something new, that's a pilot. And because there is a step in the formula that says don't try anything new. So I'm just trying to put the two together because I am trying something new.
Well, if you're doing something new, if you're doing a new activity, then the condition you're in is non-existence. And you can definitely apply the affluence attainment formula to that situation that you find yourself in, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, just that one step of don't try anything new, that doesn't apply at this point of time because it is a pilot, so everything I'm trying is new.
Well, yeah, but as you do non-existence and as you're working hard, and as you are in ethics and applying standard tech to what you're doing, you will make sure that that's what you're doing. You won't try something new at that point. You'll just keep doing that until you get out of non-existence, etc., and move up toward affluence.
Perfect.
So Anita, one thing what is coming to my mind is even for a pilot, you will have a way of doing things. So we have to look at those, you have to read whatever instructions are there. So we have to read those. Even to do the pilot, I'm sure there'll be instructions. Yeah. Then maybe this applies in that way. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, again. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So until next time, and we'll go over the affluence formula. Okay.
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 Thank you, Greg. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.